The series opens with Jin-soo falling, victim to a scam by an investor friend. Now burdened with a debt of 900 million won to the loan sharks, he scrambles through various odd jobs, including washing windows on skyscrapers, but struggles to make ends meet. On the brink of despair, contemplating a jump from a bridge, he unexpectedly receives a deposit of 4 million won into his account. Accompanied by the arrival of a limousine, he's taken to a theater, where he's introduced to the 8 show. The game's rules are as follows. Participants will be compensated for their time spent in the game. No special skills are required, and food and lodging will be provided. The prize money increases over time. When the timer runs out, the game ends. But if a participant expires, the game is terminated. Each participant must choose a number as their ID. If someone chooses not to participate, they will receive 20 million won as cab fare. Jin-soo initially assumes that since participants cannot be killed, it must be a harmless prank show offering easy money. However, his concern grows that it could be a front for organ harvesting. He considers leaving, but is disheartened when his boss pays him only $220 for a week's work. Realizing that his real life is dismal and that things can't get worse, he decides to join the game. Picking card number 3, entering a luxurious studio with 8 floors, he notices that the timer is set for only 24 hours. With his card, he accesses the 3rd floor, or 3F, where he finds a simple room equipped with a scoreboard, intercom, cameras, a screen acting as a window, a uniform, and a rule book. Additional rules include storing away personal belongings and wearing the uniform. Items can be purchased at a premium rate through the intercom, but remain in the room. Prices will be deducted from individual prize money. Items can also be bought on the ground floor, known as the square. All participants must stay in their rooms from midnight to 8 a.m. and cannot obstruct cameras. Violations result in a deduction of half their individual prize money. The show starts at midnight, and Jin-soo has just a minute to change. The game begins, and he quickly realizes he earns 30.01 for every minute spent in the game. He spends the next hour monitoring the scoreboard and calculates that he would earn 40,001 just for staying 24 hours. If he remains in the game for a week, he could repay his debt. However, Jin-soo soon discovers a catch. It's cold and he needs to urinate. He attempts to buy a blanket for 1,001, finding it 100 times more expensive than usual. Determined, he resorts to using discarded newspapers, a cardboard box for sleeping, and an empty bottle for relieving himself. By morning, Jin-soo sees he has accumulated over 14,001. He meets 7 other participants in the square, where the timer has now increased to 35 hours. 1F is limping but refuses assistance. 2 is cold, pragmatic, and rude. 4F is extremely anxious and cautious. F is friendly and acts as a mediator. 6F is brash and aggressive. 7F is logical and astute. Last but not least, 8F is bubbly, pampered, and fashionable. They realize that everything in the square is fake. Items bought in their rooms cannot be taken out. So for restroom needs, they must purchase waste bags. Square 4F worries about excessive spending. While 7F proposes a vote, 6F simply orders cigarettes. As the timer decreases by 2 minutes, 7F figures that purchasing items is linked to the time spent in the square. Jin-soo calculates that each minute is worth 2,501. 4F panics and checks her scoreboard, relieved to find their prize money is. If they exhaust their time, the game ends and no more prize money will be earned. They wonder if wealthy individuals would invest in such an expensive show if participants could end it quickly. This implies there must be additional rules to ensure they stay longer. After much discussion and differing opinions, they buy buckets, toilet rolls, sanitary pads, garbage bags, and cigarettes. Food is the next issue, as they haven't eaten. 8F reveals she received 12 different meal kits. Jin-soo and the others attempt to persuade her to share, but she claims ignorance of the others' lack of food and that sharing wasn't specified. Food cannot be taken out of the rooms. 5F tries to mediate, while 7F proposes using the chute to distribute food across floors. They plan to visit each floor, starting with 8F. 1F struggles with climbing, which may cause problems later. Entering 8F's room, they discover it's the largest, featuring a grand window, a bathtub, a dining table, and a mirror. A minute later, they see 8F earns 340.01 while 1F earns 10.01 per minute. The money decreases with each floor. The scene goes to exploring 8F's backstory. As the second participant, she arrives in a glamorous gown full of excitement. She gleefully leaps into the fake pool, but ends up breaking her nose. Afterwards, she enters her room, which is completely. She begins by smoking, then strips completely, before changing into the provided uniform and burning her old clothes. Once the game starts, 8F earns 340.01 per minute and begins lavishly spending on luxurious items like silk nightgowns, beds, pillows, toilets, mirrors, dining tables, books, and bathtubs. In return, she receives 12 meal kits and a variety of water, though she barely consumes any food. She even uses the drinking water for bathing. Despite spending all her money, she recovers it all while sleeping. At this point, the other participants reveal their earnings. 7F makes 210, 6F gets 130. 001, 5F earns 80, 001, 4F receives 50, 001, and 2F only gets 20,001. 7F realizes that the prize money is based on the Fibonacci sequence. As they continue their exploration, the rooms become progressively smaller. While some participants are frustrated by this, 8F happily bounces on a trampoline, irritating others. Food 7F proposes a solution. Each participant selects one meal with leftovers available on the first floor for a communal meal to build trust. Chaos erupts when 8F spends all the time buying clothes, leaving them with only 13 minutes remaining. In the ensuing panic, 2F confronts 8F, who suggests that the timer can be extended via the stairs, but only if 2F apologizes for her previous rudeness. Tensions rise until a desperate 1F starts running up and down the stairs, prompting everyone to join him. They run up and down until the timer resets to 24 hours. 8F had anticipated this, because she had noticed the timer increasing during the room tour. After the day concludes, Jin-Soo recalls 7F's theory and concludes that the game's organizers want participants to turn against each other.
The only way to win is through cooperation.
Jin-Soo, frustrated with his makeshift toilet, orders a porta potty. That night, everyone endures their minimal provisions, except for 8F, who continues to revel in her luxuries, and 7F, who documents their observations. The next day, they all resume running up the stairs. The timer extends, prize money increases, and they start receiving daily food. However, the 12 meal kits are insufficient, leading to a division into two teams. Teams alternate on the stairs with leftovers. Going to the team running that day, they choose odd even numbers, but 2F refuses to join the evens team, because it includes 8F. 1F joins them instead. One day, 1F falls and nearly causes an accident. As he rests, 6F twists his arm to waste time. Shocking everyone, 2F takes his place, but is exhausted the next day from her shift. The following day, 1F struggles as his leg worsens. Seeing 2F about to substitute again, Jin-Soo steps in. He feels good about helping, but is drained by the day's end. 4F exacerbates the situation by telling 1F to give his share to Jin-Soo. 2F counters that the evens team gets 8F's share anyway, since she rarely eats. 1F feels guilty, and although Jin-Soo is hungry, the group insists he eats the leftovers. In a bid to solve the problem, 1F starts using the chute to store everyone's waste in his room. A makeshift society forms, with 8F's meal leftovers divided among the rest, 2F stepping in whenever possible, and 1F receiving extra necessities. However, space runs out due to accumulating waste, and Jin-Soo can barely tolerate the stench of leftovers. Jin-Soo joins 7F, who discovers a glitch. The time has been decreasing daily, despite consistent stair running. Suddenly, the timer adds 10 minutes. But everyone is resting. The next day, the timer continues to slow down. Def tries to take a break, leading to a conflict with 2F. 8F points out that those on lower levels work harder since they avoid spending their money. Jin-Soo realizes that an hour on the second floor earns only 2,000,001, whereas on the 8th floor it's 24,000,001. 8F's motive is clear. She can use her prize money, while the upper floors bear the brunt of the work. 6F realizes this as well, and decides to take a break. The remaining team members join in, but despite running for 6 hours, the timer doesn't advance. They only have minutes. Before midnight, when the timer unexpectedly increases by 20 minutes, it continues to, leading them to believe it was a glitch. The next morning, the timer no longer resets, prompting frantic running. 4F suddenly has a seizure, and they need to order medicine. 6F refuses, arguing it will deplete their time and that 4F will survive the seizure. He even becomes aggressive with 2F when she tries to use the intercom. Eventually, everyone intervenes to stop 6F and order the medicine. As they struggle and bleed on the floor, F's laughter fills the room. She reveals that the timer has been extended by 40 hours. 7F reflects on the camera and realizes that for a show to succeed, it must be entertaining. The scene focuses on 7F's background. He thoroughly examines the studio before starting the game. The participants soon realize that the timer extends when viewers are entertained. 7F visits Jin-Soo and lets him know he appreciates his help in subbing for 1F. It's revealed that 7F hasn't sent his waste to 1F's room, Earning Jinsu's trust, they brainstorm strategies to entertain the audience, understanding that it doesn't have to be just humor. Suggestions could include more extreme actions to prolong the timer. During the group discussion, 8F proposes wrestling, but 7F steers the conversation towards comedy. Eventually, they settle on talent shows. 7F goes first, performing a recorder piece with his nose. The group is impressed, and the timer extends by 20 hours. 7F also suggests that they need to determine a target end date for the game. 5F proposes that 1F, who earns the least, should decide. 1F states that he wants to reach $1 billion, which is a 1 or 2 month stay in the game, with the prize money increasing for everyone, including 8F aiming for 34 billion won. The group agrees to continue. For the talent show, each participant presents their skill. Jinsu is uncertain about his talent, and his awkward dance results in just 18 minutes. He expects 1F to be worse, but 1F impresses everyone with his miming and clown tricks, securing 30 hours. Finally, 8F reveals her talent as bedroom skills. Jinsu is intrigued, but after 7F passes his turn, 8F chooses 6F, who is eager to participate. Their performance secures 69 hours. With a total of 5 days secured, 1F raises the issue of waste storage in his room now. That they're not running anymore. No one volunteers, and they decide to vote on whose room will be used. Jinsu fears being voted for due to his last place finish in the talent show. 4F, also worried about her second last position, tries manipulating 1F, Jinsu and 7F into choosing 8F 6F. However, reveals to 7F that he and 8F are voting for Jinsu, and 7F agrees. On voting day, there's a tie between 8F and Jinsu. A flashback shows 6F attempting to sway 2F, who ultimately votes for 8F. Undeterred, 8F celebrates her victory. The timer also extends by a day due to the voting and manipulation. Jinsu questions 7F about the third vote, suspecting it might be from someone besides 6F and 8F, especially since 5F abstained. 7F advises Jinsu to let it go. 1F and 2F bond over her efforts to sort the waste in his room, giving space to sleep. Meanwhile, 4F needs to use the toilet, but 8F refuses to let her. The group is puzzled as they explain voting results to 8F. She understands but remains indifferent. In the episode's end, 8F takes all the food for the day and leaves empty meal kits for the others as revenge. The next episode opens by exploring 4F's backstory. She struggles with decision-making, initially choosing number 8, before settling on 4. In her room, she grapples with what to purchase and resorts to writing affirmations to keep herself motivated. Currently, the group faces severe hardship due to the lack of food. The situation worsens as the audience enjoys their suffering, extending the timer. 4F's blood sugar drops, leaving her barely conscious, while 5F begins to hallucinate. 2F, frustrated and desperate, wants to end the game, but 1F begs to stay for the prize money, stating he is as good as dead without it.
Jinsu, realizing he cannot loan sharks without his 900
1
million.
reluctantly proposes to store the waste in his room. 4F offers to take half of the waste in an attempt to help, as she too hasn't secured much time from her talent show. 7F steps up to negotiate with 8F, who surprisingly agrees to the proposal. Her main interest is to buy clothes with the money she saved by withholding food, although everyone is eager to please her. 7F considers it a win, since 8F is not devising more torturous ways to extend the timer. 1F and 2F refuse to contribute their waste to Jinsu's room, but he is overwhelmed by the rest. He wonders if 4F is even taking her share, only to find out that she isn't. Meanwhile, 8F turns to play king to entertain herself and prolong the game. Participants draw numbers randomly, and the selected king must dare 2 others to complete a task. The dares escalate in intensity until 8F dares 2F
and Jinsu to kiss. When 2F refuses, 8F changes the dare to a fight between 2F and 6F. The fight reveals 2F as a skilled fighter,
leaving 6F at a disadvantage, until 2F's injured hand from her earlier talent show mishap worsens. 6F seizes the opportunity and brutally defeats 2F. 8F refuses to intervene unless 2F surrenders, but 2F can no longer speak. The men eventually stop 6F, who takes pride in securing multiple days for the group. To prevent further violence, 4F introduces a new rule. Anyone who refuses a dare will be tased. Jinsu is dared to grope 5F, but chooses the taser instead. The shock leaves him unconscious and wet himself, but it secures him even more hours than 6F's victory over 2F. A total of 30 days have passed since the game began. The king role alternates between 8F and 4F, with 6F frequently winning the dares.
The losers are usually Jinsu or 2F1F eventually realizes the game is rigged. For instance, for F can discern heads or tails during coin tosses due to the coin's embossing, allowing her to cheat.
1F, 2F, and Jinsu confront 7F with their theory. 7F admits he knew about 4F, and 8F rigging the king selection by making it sticky with acetone. He catches 4F in the act and warns her to play fair the next day. 1F pulls the king ball and dares 7F and 8F to a coin toss, requesting 4F to use the back of her hand to catch the coin, preventing her from flipping it. Jinsu feels a sense of justice when 8F loses. As 7F prepares to taste 8F, 6F intervenes, kicking 7F and tasting him. 6F declares it's time for a plot twist. As the episode ends,